Okay. I want to welcome you to your exit plan, know when to leave and what to do next. I am so excited. I'm Dr. Kiki Ramsey, your favorite positive psychologist and career coach. And I am so excited that you're here. I'm excited that we are finally having this conversation with each other because once I posted that viral video, which was basically when to know when to leave your job, it went crazy amazing. I was floored at the response to that viral video. Right now, it's been viewed over a couple 100,000 times. Like, for me, it always amazes me on how we can speak up and say, you know what, this resonates with me. And because that resonated with you, I wanted to do this free coaching session because I understand what it's like to be out there, to be in a job that you quite frankly might hate, to be in a job that is not serving you well, to be in a job that is making you sick every day, making you cry every week. And we don't want that for you. But what I also don't want for you is for you to leave a job without something else in place or being in the right position to actually leave your job. And so that's what we're going to talk about today in today's exit plan strategy session so that you can know when to leave, what's the right time, and what to do if you do decide that you are going to leave. And so I want to welcome you all to today's session, and we're going to get started. And one of the things I want you to know first off the bat is that this session is not about you quitting impulsively, right? We don't want you to do that. It's more about making a strategic aligned decision that you are able to then leave your job. And so I want you to know that before we get started, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want to, don't be telling people to quit their job. No, what I'm doing is I believe in workplace happiness. And what that means is that I truly believe that we all can be in a place that we can be happy at work, meaning you can go into a job and you can feel valued. You can feel like you belong. You can like the people who you work with, and you can like the job that you do. Those things are absolutely possible. But I also think that a lot of us may not have that. And we get into situations, into jobs where we may be making the money, but yet and still is not exactly what we need or want it to be for us. And so that's kind of like why we're here, why we are talking about this. And so I want to talk about, or ask you the question, or have you asked yourself the question, should you leave your job? Right? So, should you leave your job? And that is a very, first of all, personal question. It is a personal question that you need to answer for yourself. Because here's the thing, if you let somebody else answer that for you, baby, you might be outside broke. And that's not what you want, right? You can't let somebody answer this for you. You have to answer this for yourself. And so I'm going to give you an assessment, which is just a couple questions that you can ask yourself to assess whether you need to leave your job. But here's the thing, right? I talked about the signs, right, that you might need to leave your job now, and that was in the viral video. And a couple of the signs are you tried to fix the solution and nothing has changed, right? Like, I mean, you tried. You really did try. You have tried to speak up. You've tried to be quiet. You've tried to be a team player. You've tried to step back. I mean, you've tried to get help. You've gone to HR. There's so many things you've tried to do, and nothing has changed. It absolutely has not changed. And I get it, right? We're in positions and jobs where it just ain't gonna change. It's not you, boo. It's the environment. And so that's one of the signs if nothing has changed. But another one is if the job is draining you versus growing you. There are some jobs that are just just literally draining the life out of you every single day. You are not growing anymore. You might have once been growing in this job, but you are not growing anymore. And it's time for you to think about what your next step is if you're not growing. And you also have to think about, do you want to live another one, two, three, rest of your life, whatever, in a job where you're not growing? I mean, it's definitely something to think about. And then another one is staying is starting to cost you too much. I mean, it's starting to cost you your well-being, your health, and you're starting to dread. I mean, like you wake up on a Sunday and you are like, oh my God, tomorrow it's Monday and I got to go to work. I mean, you wake up on the Lord's day, a Sunday, and you're dreading going to work the very next day. And I think that is a true problem, right? I just think it's a true problem. And then, sometimes in a job you're just straight up burnout. You are burnout, like you don't get time off, you can't think properly, you are just exhausted all the time. You are absolutely, completely burnout. And that is no way to be. Like it's just not where you want to be. And so if that's you, I mean, it's time to start thinking about, potentially your next move. And then another, reason why you may be thinking about leaving is because you're misaligned. And what I mean by that is that you've outgrown the job. Like the values that you used to align with the organization no longer align anymore. You don't feel belonging anymore in the organization. You're just not aligned. Y'all not on the same page. You know what I'm saying? You're just not on the same page. And that is a difficult place to be. And so when you're misaligned with a job, sometimes you can't get that alignment back. Like you just can't get the connection that you once had back. And I think that that is very important to know. And then sometimes, baby, you just completely outgrown the role. You have not advanced like you're supposed to. You've outgrown the role, meaning you uphill and it's downhill. Like I mean, like you uphill, it's down here, and you've outgrown it. And there may not be anywhere for you to go in that organization to get to where you are now being challenged again. You're happy, and so here are all these things, these signs that it may be time for you to go. So when we're talking about assessment, thinking about, okay, all these signs, you might say, yep, Dr. Kiki, yep, 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 yep. I say yes to all those and then some. I cry on the weekends because I don't want to go to work. I mean, all those things. If you said yes to all those things, then you got to assess for real. You have to assess. You have to figure out if it is time for you to go. And so, my first question to you is I want you to ask yourself, are you staying because you're comfortable? And when I mean comfortable, right? I know you're not like comfortable emotionally, but a lot of you are comfortable financially. Yeah, yeah. And I get it. I get it because guess what? We all got to pay our bills. And this is not about you quitting right now, but it's about kind of assessing if you need to start working towards quitting, right? But you may be comfortable. And so you got to ask yourself, am I comfortable or am I just afraid to make a move? Woo! Because here's the thing, fear will keep you stuck, comfort will also keep you stuck. Both of them will keep you stuck in a job that you hate, in a job that brings you so much misery every single day, right? Like it will absolutely keep you stuck. And so I know, like for me, right? I was in a job, I was in a career field, right? Like before I became a coach, I was a social worker. And shout out to all of my social work girlies, right? That was my foundation. It was, an amazing run for me, right, in my career. But I ultimately got to this place in my career as a social worker where I was completely burnt out. I mean, there are some social workers, and I have friends who have been doing the good work of whatever they're doing in their field for years and years and years. But for me, it started to take a toll on my body. It started to take a toll on everything that I had going on in my life, and it was very difficult to continue to do all the things that was necessary to continue to do all the things that I was doing because I was so stressed out. I was so burnt out. I mean, at one point, I was a social worker in child welfare, and we know that child welfare is a difficult industry. It is difficult. It is hard, and I my heart goes out to the social workers who have these very high caseloads and all the babies that need protecting because the job has to get done. And there are some amazing people out there doing that job. And I was doing that job, and I loved my babies. I loved my clients. I loved the people who I was working with and everything. And it's such a noble job. Um, but I remember being at the hospital one too many times with other babies, and then my baby, because my son was young at the time, was at home with his dad, and I wasn't there. So I was literally spending more time with my clients because I had such a high caseload versus my own child. Let that sink in. I get it, right? And I thought about that during that time, and I'm like, is this the kind of life that I want to actually live? Do I want to, have to put, my job before my own child? And that was just something that I did not want to do. And so I had to think about, like, okay, am I just comfortable here? Meaning I make a good salary, all that kind of stuff, or am I just too scared and too afraid to move? So when you're doing this assessment, that's the first question that you have to ask yourself. Am I staying because I'm comfortable or because I'm afraid? Number two, if nothing changes for you in the next 6 to 12 months, should I be okay? Or would you be okay? And that's a question that you got to answer. I answered that question and I was like, no, I cannot stay in this job for another 3 months and be okay. I mean, I was serious. I was so burnt out. I was exhausted every single day, and it wasn't getting better. And I asked myself, could you stay here for another 6 months or a year? Because I was right out of grad school with my master's in social work, and I was like, I'm about to do this. I'm about to help save some lives and stuff like that. And guess what? I did do that, but I just couldn't do it for a long time. And so for me, the answer was flat out no. I could not stay in this position for even 3 months longer. And you got to ask yourself the same question. Can you stay for 6, 12 months? If the answer is no, then you might think about leaving. And then the last one is the job supporting the life you actually want to live. Like it's the job supporting your life. And here's what I mean by that. For me in that job, I already told you it wasn't supporting the life I wanted to live because I couldn't even spend the time that I wanted to with my own child. So that is definitely not the life I wanted to live. And when I say, spend the time with my own child, I meant that I was spending time with other babies, right? But I couldn't spend it with my own child because I was at work too much. And that's not the life I wanted to live. And so I really had to think about, like, okay, if this is not the life I want to live, what is the life that I wanted to live? There was a lot of things that I ultimately wanted to do, but at the moment, and I'm gonna, talk about this and teach all that. At the moment, I didn't have all those things fleshed out because I ultimately, years down the line, started my own business, became a keynote speaker, became an executive and career coach, and done all these things and became a professor and just all these things, right? So I did all those things down the line. Like I did all those things eventually, but I knew that this was the start of my career. So I wasn't necessarily looking to leave the field of social work. I just knew in the beginning I had to get out of that job. And so I had to ask myself, what job, if there were any that I was going to be able to do that would actually play into the lifestyle that I wanted to live. And so when you're doing the assessment about, should you leave your job? These are three questions that you want to ask yourself, right? Because, here's what's important. Not every season means you should quit. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. I know you might not want to hear that because I mean we ready, right? I get it. But I knew for me in that season after I had done this assessment and asked these questions that I definitely knew it was time to quit. But there's been seasons in my life where I felt unhappy, but it wasn't the right time to quit. I just had to grind it out because number one, I ain't have some of the other things that I'm about to talk to you in place. And so I couldn't quit. But ask yourself these questions. And if you get there, then, you know, I'm about to teach you how to do it, right? Okay. So, uh, I'm about to teach you 5 steps to build your exit strategy. And this is the good part, right? These are the steps that if you are absolutely you answered yes, definitively, Dr. Kiki, it is time for me to throw up the deuces, right? If you answered that, then I'm about to teach you 5 steps that you can do to build that exit strategy plan. And these are some of the things that I did as I, ended up leaving my job. Now, let me just say this to y'all. I've been in this game for a very long time. I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time, but then I also worked in corporate as a social worker and did all that kind of stuff for a very long time as well. I've had several exits. So when I have these conversations with you, I'm talking to you from a couple different exit strategies, right? And I'll tell you about those as we get there. But I've had several exits to get to where I'm at. I honestly don't think that you can be at the top of your game without some exits, right? Some of us have to leave a job to get a better job, to get better salary, to get a better, better environment and culture and all those things. And also, the research says that those who change jobs more often honestly make more money over their career because, you can stay at a job for 5, 10 years, and that 3% raise, honey, is not going to add up to me getting another job with a 20 or $30,000 salary bump. You just ain't gonna get there, right? I'm gonna pass you. If we start off at the same level and in 5 years you stay at that job and you get your little cost of living raise, right? And all of that, good, right? Great. But if I leave in the 5th year and get a 30,000 or $40,000 bump in my income because I went somewhere else, I make more money than you. It's just math. The math be mathing. So I'm just saying to you, if you can be brave enough sometimes to take do what it takes to look for another job that's better, then sometimes it really does pay off. And so let me jump into these 5 strategies for you. So the first one is get clear on what you want to do next. Like, listen, I coach so many women, right? Like that's what I do. I'm a career coach. And so I coach women on a day-to-day basis. I speak in front of large audiences about workplace happiness and all of that. And I always tell people to really get clear on what you want next, right? Like I don't want you to leave a job because you're just running from the job. Like we all do that. Like we run from the job and we leave and we do all those things, but don't do that. Like for me, I knew that I wanted to go into a different field of social work. So like at the end of the day, I began my career as a child welfare, child protective services, Department of Family Services. They're all named something different no matter where you are at. I started my career there, but in my mind, I ultimately wanted to go into medical social work. And so I eventually got into medical social work, which I was very happy for a long time. Until I just had this calling on my life to do something more, which was to pour into the lives of women via speaking. Right. That's, ultimately why I ended up leaving that. And I still also got a little burned out. Just it was very emotional during that job, but but I first figured out what I wanted to do. I wanted to do next. I first figured it out. Now, my very, 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 very first career, right? Like when I started my very first business, I was in real estate. And me and my husband, Dr. Jamil Ramsey, actually just dropped a podcast, did a podcast on this on the Dr. Kiki Ramsey show. And you can go look for that on anywhere you listen to podcasts. And we just talked about our very first exit, right, out of our jobs. And so we were in a kind of like a network marketing company, and I was in real estate and he was in insurance. And I can remember going to this company and being so very excited about the opportunity. Y'all, back then in the day, I just think about like how things were sold to us. I was sold a dream, honey. I was all up in there. This was the time where Mary Kay and all of them were popping. And so I was sold the dream. And so I went and I got my real estate license and everything like that. And I really did want to do real estate at the time till I realized that people suck. I mean, that people suck. I did not want to show houses to people who were not really serious about buying and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I digress. But I can remember wanting to go to that company because I was sold a dream about like all the things that I could get, the houses, the cars, all that kind of stuff. But not only that, if I was successful in that company, I could be one of the speakers. I could be one of the people on the stage motivating everybody else to do well, to do good in the business, right? That's what I was most attracted to. Like, it's wild when I think about it. I joined the business, that business in particular, to be a speaker on their stage, telling other people to come into the business. And I can remember one day sitting in that a meeting, right? It was a meeting because we had weekly meetings where we were supposed to bring prospective clients in for the business. And so I can remember sitting there and I was dreaming about being that person on stage, motivating everybody and everything like that. And the next thing you know, everybody started clapping, blah, 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 because the meeting was over. And I was daydreaming the whole time. I didn't hear nothing the speaker said. And I knew in that moment that I had to quit. I knew in that moment that I did not need that business. So I asked myself, I'm like, why am I in this business to become a speaker when I can just go figure out how to become a speaker? Child. I mean, it was so funny. I'm like, I'm in this business to become a speaker, but I'm not doing good in the business, which is the reason why I ain't speaking. But I don't need this business to go speak. I had to get clear on what I wanted, right? So for you, it could be a career pivot like me. Like I didn't want to necessarily do real estate. I wanted to be a speaker. So I wanted a career pivot. Do you want a career pivot? Because where you are right now versus where you want to be, are those, where's that at for you? Right? I do a lot of work on purpose, right? I do a lot of work on purpose. And I wrote a book about purpose. It's called Get Courageous Now, A Woman's Guide to Finding Her Passions and Purpose in Life. And you can get this on Amazon. And I wrote about purpose because I understand that some of us do not know our purpose in life. I did not know my purpose in life for a very long time. And I would literally, I'm not going to even lie to you, I would wake up and cry every single day because I did not know my purpose in life. And as I started along this journey towards coaching and speaking and all that kind of stuff, I started to document my journey to finding my purpose. And as a coach, because I'm a coach, honey, in this book, after each chapter, I have coaching assignments that you need to do in order to lead you to your purpose in life. And I've done this for hundreds of women. At this point, thousands, but who's counting? And so I tell my clients that if you want a career pivot, which is fine, you need to really dig into your purpose. It don't make sense to keep jumping jobs to jobs and then experiencing the same thing, experiencing the same burnout, experiencing the same thing. So when for me, decided to finally pivot, I first went into speaking. So I started a speaking business, which that's a whole nother story. And it took me a long time to actually become successful, but hallelujah. I'm successful at speaking, and I speak in front of crowds of thousands. But it also led me to coaching, and that was a whole nother like pivot for me. But the beautiful thing is I could still use my same skills as a social worker as a coach. Now, coaching is not social work and it is completely different subset, but the foundation that I have as a social worker, it does wonders for me. Like I know how to work, I know how to help people, and that's because of my foundation in social work, right? And so when you think about this career pivot, I want you to think about, do I know my purpose? And if you don't know your purpose, call me up, right? We can have some sessions together or get the book, right? And really think about what skills do you have right now that you can use in another career that you won't have to just do a lot of stuff, right? Now, I'm not saying you ain't gonna have to do some trainings and stuff like that. I literally went back to school and got a master's in positive psychology coaching because I didn't know, like I thought I knew what coaching was. I thought I also knew how to coach, but I went back to school and I got a whole degree in it. And the beautiful thing is 180. Like I went to Life University here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I got my master's in positive psychology coaching. And currently, I am an assistant professor in the same program. Oh my God. So I went to school and I ultimately went to school and got a PhD, of course, right? And now I'm back teaching in that same program that I got my master's in. And it was, I mean, it changed my entire life. Like it literally changed my entire life. And one of the things you can look up is there's a Business Insider article that was written about me, and it says how this social worker pivoted and became a life coach and quintupled her income. Baby, I did that, right? Because I was thinking that I needed a career pivot. And now my company, the Positive Psychology Coaching and Diversity Institute, aka PCADI, we have our own coach training program as well. Because I believe in the power of the pivot. I believe in the power of coaching, right? And so ask yourself if you need to pivot. The other thing I want you to ask yourself is, do you want to start a business? Because some of you are entrepreneurs, some of you ain't. So there's this interesting debate going on about like going back into the office and being visible and being seen and all those things. And I believe that a lot of that is true. I believe that as women, we have to be visible in the office. But I also feel like the system is also set up so that we don't win all the time. Like that's just the truth, right? Like, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it in no kind of way. The system is set up for us not to win. And we do definitely have to fight harder than most people, especially white men in the workplace, right? But then there's this other argument that everybody should start a business, right? Like everybody should start a business. And I just say hell to the no. No, that is not true. Like, and here's why, right? I think that we all have strengths. I'm a positive psychologist. So we were all born with certain strengths. We have strengths. We don't have to work on them. Baby, my biggest strength is zest. I'm going to always show up zesty. Right? I love life. I love living. I love helping people. I love all that. And I'm going to show up that way. And I'm also a born entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since middle school. I literally was that girl with her briefcase in middle school with candy bars and all that kind of stuff, making $30 to $40 a day. Do you hear me? I've been an entrepreneur, right? But there is some people that are not born with no entrepreneurial skills and then would die from starvation if you had to kill what you eat. Real talk. Real talk. So I don't believe that everybody should be an entrepreneur or has to become an entrepreneur. There is space in this world for all of us, whether you work in corporate America or whether you start a business. Because I will tell you, starting a business is not always easy, but I find it worth it because I'm an entrepreneur and I love it, right? But there have been times that I've struggled so hard that I'm like, I want to quit. I'm about to quit. I'm about to go get a job. And there's nothing wrong with it. And guess what? I had to do that several times throughout my career as an entrepreneur to get a job, right? And so, but you might want to start a business and you might be really good at it. And if you do, I say start your business alongside your job, because there was this great, philosopher, personal development guru. His name was Jim Rohn. He said he had this like funny cadence to his talk. He was like, "Don't leave your job before your income from your business is more than the income from your job." Right? He would say stuff like, "Don't wish it were better. Wish you were better." Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. And I take those things with me because I now want me to be better, because those outside circumstances, they may never get better, but you can always get better because you can control you, right? And so if you want to start a business, yes, let's do that. But keep your job unless you have a financial plan together that we will talk about next. And then lastly, just ask yourself, do you want a new role? I mean, you could get a new role in the same company. Some of these companies out here are huge, and there's other opportunities within the organization for you to just change roles. And if that is the kind of company that you work for, then I mean, it could be night and day. You can be in one department and be under one under one job, and then versus going to another department and a whole new role, and it can be night and day for you. You can be like, who knew that the grass could be so green in the same organization? So you need to figure out what you want next. Okay? So don't just run from something. I want you to run towards something. Number two, I need you to figure out your financial readiness. Here's the thing. When I first quit my job at the hospital as a social worker, because like I told you, I ultimately did go on. I got this amazing job as a medical social worker and I loved it. But I was, I would sit at the hospital because at this point in time, I'm about 10, 15 years into social work, and I had this calling on my life. And I knew the calling. I knew the calling was to do something more. I knew the calling was to go out and speak in front of audiences and pour into the lives of women. So I knew this. But I didn't know how to do it. And so I used to sit at the job and I played this game that you probably playing right now, which is the reason why you are listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth. And it was to quit or not to quit. Like, I mean, that's the job, right? To quit or not to quit. And I was playing I was playing that game, and I was thinking about like how to start a business. And so ultimately I did quit. I quit and I was like, okay, I'm in this business. So where the clients at? Where they at? Like, what the clients at? And they were nowhere to be found, but I had to really figure out how to grow a business, right? I wasn't financially sound. I did not have 3 to 6 months of emergency fund, which is the first thing that you need to do, right? Before you would leave a job. Now, for real, I'm gonna say a year. Like, not even, I ain't even kidding you, because here's the thing that most people don't realize about starting a business, especially if it's not off the ground, if it's not making money yet. It takes time, and it takes more time than you could ever imagine to get a business off the ground and to get a business running and kicking. And these Insta coaches will tell you different though. You will end up spending money on we call it Insta coaches at my organization. You'll end up spending money on these Insta coaches telling you how to make six figures in 6 days. Child, bye. Bye. Right? Don't spend your money on that. Please don't. And that's coming from a coach, but I'm a real coach. I'm a master certified coach. I have over probably about 5,000 hours of true coaching. So don't believe the hype, right? But I say the year because It takes a long time, and it took me probably a couple of years to even hit six figures in my speaking business. And it's not even because I ain't good, because I'm good, right? I'm good. I can turn a room out. I can light a room up when it comes to my keynotes, but it ain't matter because you got to get your name out there. And so depending on what your business is, you may need way more runway than most people. And so 3 to 6 months minimum, a year, you're starting to get, into the place where you need to be. So during this time, you might need to reduce unnecessary expenses. I know me, I don't like to cut back, right? Like I don't like to cut back. I like what I like. But when you are moving forward and you're trying to, pivot and get another job and do all those things, you might just need to cut back. And that's just real talk. Because sometimes, guess what? We need to do what we got to do. So cut some of them things out. Especially if you ain't got that savings or somebody to support you on the back end, cut it out so that you can get to where you need to go. And then if you can't quit right now, start yourself what we call a freedom fund, meaning you are saving up to get to this freedom fund. My pastor, shout out to Pastor Battle, in Landover, Maryland, or Greenbelt, Maryland. He was my pastor when we lived there. But he used to say that the reason why most people cannot leave their jobs and start a business is because, or just leave their jobs and go to another career, and then have time, is because we don't got jump money. He calls it jump money. We ain't got jump money, meaning we ain't got money so that we can make a jump from here to there. And it's important that you have jump money, right? It's important. And when I finally left, my job after a couple of exits, I didn't have jump money, right? But it took me several exits before I just got it right. I did not get it right in the beginning. So you need some jump money. You need money that you can save up so that you can exit the right way. Because here is the thing. When I first exited, I didn't have that money. And so I'm telling you to do as I say and not what I do. Because, baby, when I tell you I was so broke, and I don't know if you've ever felt, but there's a quiet desperation when you don't have money. When you don't have money to pay your rent. Like, okay, these necessities, rent, food, we can get away without clothes and stuff like that, but rent and food, right? Even transportation, you can almost, I mean, especially if you got public transportation, rent and food, right? Most of us can find food. I just feel like we're at a place in our life we can find food. But rent or mortgage, sometimes it's just too big of a bill. And during one of our exits, we went into foreclosure on one of our previous homes. And let me tell you, the amount of stress that I was stressed, it was, I mean, I felt like if there were ever a time in my life that I felt like I was this close to a nervous breakdown, it was during that time. The time that I was going to lose my house. And I got kids and all this kind of stuff. And then so I couldn't fathom losing my house. It was rough. And it's because I didn't do things right the first time, right? It was because of that. Luckily for us, God is so good. We never did lose our house. But this was during that financial crash and that boom during like the 2008s and all that kind of time. And everybody was losing their house left and right. And we were right in there. But the Lord spared us and we never lost our house. But it was not because I had did things smartly. It's because I just think I have a good God. That's all I can say. And then I eventually got it together. And so that financial plan, that jump money, all of that is important. And then one last thing I'm gonna say about that, because I want to really get through all these, and make sure that I can have some conversations with y'all, is some people won't tell you that your financial readiness plan can also include another person, right? They can include a spouse. you can have another person help support you. Like at the time, I had, and I still do, like I said at the time, but my husband was the other person holding it down. So the reason why we didn't lose our house, the reason why we always had food on the table and all those things was because he had a job. Now I ain't saying it was the best paying job and it was the best job because it wasn't, because we were still struggling hard. But that's the one thing that kept us afloat is because he had money coming in, right? We were both very underemployed and all of that during that time. But a lot of people who especially start businesses don't tell you that they got somebody in the background holding it down. They don't tell you that. But I'm going to be real with you because you need to know that there are ways to be able to, make a pivot, make a move because you have the support that you need. And some people got parents and all this kind of stuff. So there's other ways to do it if you got support. Okay? So number three, you got to up level your skills and build some confidence. There's nothing like leaving a job without confidence or without the skills necessary to move forward. You got to have that. You need the skills necessary to move forward. And so what does this mean? You need to assess what skills you need to move forward. For me, when I pivoted from social work to coaching, I knew I had certain skills in order to move forward in that industry. However, I did not know about coaching. I didn't have no coach certification. I did not know about coaching at all. And I think that when you're pivoting, you have to assess that. And so I'm like, well, if this is going to be my new career, I need to actually go to school to figure out what coaching is. I need to go to a coach certification program to figure out what coaching is, and so that I can get the confidence in coaching and building the business. And that's exactly what I did. So if you are trying to move careers, move to a new job, whatever, assess what skills you might need, right? And here's the thing, we are in a very interesting job market right now. I mean, I think that the job market here ebbs and flows all the time, but a lot of what I'm hearing out there is that I can't find a job and people are laying off, and it's true. Everything you're saying is true. People are laying off people, especially in this rise of AI, but that's a whole nother topic. I need to get Dr. Jamil Ramsey in here to talk to you about AI, but AI can't do everything. And AI can't automatically, it's not going to be able to replace all people, but you are going to have to be better. That's just the truth. You're going to have to be better. And then these companies will learn, they're going to soon learn that AI can't replace everybody. But you have to learn. So you have to build your skills during this time. You have to become a person that is indispensable, right? Like they can't get rid of you because they need you. AI can't necessarily think like humans. AI still get it wrong. AI be hallucinating. Right. And so I know that they're not going to take my job because they be hallucinating, but it is still very good for a lot of things. And so you just have to up level your skills and build your confidence during this time. So whether that's getting some certifications, getting some coaching yourself, or even some mentorship, you're going to have to do that. And that's step three. Step four is start before you quit. I love this one. And what do I mean, right? Don't quit your business without starting a new business on the side, right? Don't quit your business before you have another job to go to. Don't quit your, no, excuse me, don't quit your career, right? Don't quit your job. Don't quit your job before you have another business on the side. Don't quit your job before you have another job on the side. Don't quit your job before you understand your purpose in life. Don't quit your job before you have networked with everybody and their mama on LinkedIn and at in-person events. Don't quit your job before you dot, dot, dot. You can't, right? Because that's when you get out there and you be struggling. So if you need to start a business, allow your job to pay you to start your business. Allow your job to be the thing that you get, that gives you the income to start your business, right? If you are ready to quit, go out there on LinkedIn and network. Man, when I tell you there are so many amazing people on LinkedIn, and if you're not on LinkedIn, what you waiting on? It ain't got to be your number one platform of choice, right? you just have to be on there because that's where business is being made. It is for professionals, right? You need to be on LinkedIn and inboxing people and looking at jobs. Like I see all kind of jobs on LinkedIn, like all day, every day, right? And then test your next move before you do it. So, like if you are starting a business and it ain't going well, it ain't gonna automatically go well when you quit. What made you think that? No, you need to test it and you need to be making some money. You need to be really, diving into these these jobs that are posted and open, talking to people who work at those industries or work at those organizations to see if this is even something you want to do. You can do all that sitting from the seat that you sit in versus quitting and not having those things in order. And then number five, you got to create your timeline. I love reverse engineering stuff. Like I reverse engineer everything that's important to me, right? I'm writing my new book. It's called Create Your Own Happiness: 7 Ways to Cultivate Happiness at Work and in Life. And baby, this book comes out on June the 23rd. So it's on pre-order right now. So if you go to Amazon, you can get the pre-order for Create Your Own Happiness, right? But I had to reverse engineer that book in order to get it done on time because I have the Thrive 26 Women's Conference is coming up in July. And I wanted to make sure that my book was ready for the launch of the conference as well. And so I reverse engineer every single thing in my life. And so when you are ready to leave your job, whether it's 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, or a year, reverse engineer your exit. Like figure out all the things you need to do, especially if you're trying to do a pivot. Say, for instance, you're trying to come over here with me in the coaching world and become a coach. Then, my program at PCADI is 6 months long. So you can reverse engineer like, okay, I'm about to get into this program. And then 6 months later, what are all the things that I need to do in order to say I'm out? Right? Say, for instance, you wanted to come to us at Life University for coaching. That program is like a year and a half. So it's going to take you a little bit longer, but you then walk out with a master's degree, right? So there's a lot of things that you can do, but you need to reverse engineer it. Say, for instance, you're, trying to pivot from one industry to the next. What certifications do you need? Do you need a SHRM certification? Do you need your PMP? Like there's so many things that you can get that's going to help you in your next job or your next position, but you need to reverse engineer it. And once you do that, that also gives you time to get your money right? To start building up your jump money. So if you're still working, start putting that money back so that you get them 3, 6 months, 12 months, of funds together so that you can be able to jump once you've reverse engineered everything, right? Because it is, I mean, it's so powerful. Because here's the thing, a powerful exit is not emotional, it's intentional, right? I finally got it right. After all my exits, I finally got it right because it is very, very intentional. When you lead off of emotions, you end up finding yourself in trouble. And so before we leave, I want to give you a couple things to do after you quit, right? Because I know that we can quit and we can be out there and we can be like, oh my God, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? So within the first 30 to 60 days, I want you to structure your days. You cannot drift, right? Like hopefully you got another job. So if you have another job and then your day is pretty structured, right? So you go to work, you do what you need to do, you grow, you build. If you start in a business, you have to structure your days because you're your boss. You're your own boss. And that's another thing about starting a business. If you are not structured, then you can lose yourself in these days because you don't know what to do. So structure your days, whether you go to work or you start a business, you got to have a plan. You have to have a structure. And then you need to set clear goals for where you want to be at in the next 3 to 6 months with a new job or the business. Set those clear goals so that you know exactly where you're going. When I left my job to become a speaker, my goal was to get 3 to 6 keynotes over the next 6 months. And so that was kind of like one keynote a month, paid paid, right? That's the difference. So because I could get speaking engagements, but they were not always paid. And so my goal was to get 3 to 6 paid. And I struggled to hit that goal because I was just so fresh and I didn't leave the right way. But you got to make your, you got to set your goals. And then lastly, I need you to protect your mind because here's the thing. What goes on up here is what's reality for you. So you got to protect your mindset. You can't let all that negativity come into you. Like if you got people around you negative, you need to like remove yourself from that because at the end of the day, you need to be of the mindset that you're going to make it. You're going to do this, right? You're going to do this. So you got to, have a couple priorities with this. You got to prioritize your income, right? Your income plan is very important for you to prioritize. You also need to prioritize being visible. You got to be on LinkedIn. You got to go to networking. I mean, if you're like me, you got to make content, right? You gotta prioritize being out there because you do not want to be the next best kept secret. Even if you're going to a corporate career job, right? Like you got to be on LinkedIn. You have to be visible. And then I want you to remember that there's consistency to have consistency over perfection. So many of us are trying to be perfect. I mean, we're trying to be perfect. And that perfection will keep you stuck. It'll keep you not reaching out to people that you need to reach out to and telling them, hey, I'm searching for a new career. I'm searching for a new job. I'm searching for, a new plan. Do you have anything in your organization? That will keep you stuck. If you do not start reaching out and you're trying to be perfect, it will keep you stuck because freedom without structure can turn into real anxiety real fast. And so the last thing I want to say before we get out of here is that if you cannot leave yet, because some of you have listened to me this whole thing and it makes sense, all of it makes sense, but you might not be able to leave just yet. And that's okay because what you're going to do is you're going to, number one, start building your jump money, and then you're going to reverse engineer your exit. So that could be even a year from now or 2 years, whatever, right? But this is huge because I want you to reframe. You need to reframe everything. And here's the reframe. I'm not stuck. I'm just in preparation mode. Listen, you ain't stuck. You are just in preparation mode. And that preparation mode is getting you ready for your exit. And that's the reframe that you need to when you go about your day every single day in the job. And so some of you in terms of this reframe, you have to detach from that job emotionally. You can't let it get to you. That's what we go wrong at, right? Especially these jobs that we hate. We go in there, we get frustrated every single day. We like, oh my God, like, oh Lord, these people getting on my nerves, this getting on my nerves, everything getting on your nerves. It do. And I understand it do, but you have to detach yourself emotionally from that. You cannot get sucked up into that because it's going to be so hard for you to remain there if you do. And then you will be like me and you leave prematurely and you be out there wishing you had never left. And so I don't want that for you. So you have to detach emotionally. And then, sometimes listen, stop overgiving. I said it. Stop overgiving. Because here's the thing. Some of us overgive. Like we be doing the absolute most. And then we wonder why we exhausted and we tired and people take advantage of us. Do your job because I do feel like that's the minimum that you can do is do your job, but stop over giving. And then use your job to fund your exit. Like you got to use your job to fund your exit. Like you can't quit and leave this money behind. Use it to fund your exit, right? Because in the background you can be building up your skills, you can be networking, and you can be making income on the side as well. So part of this mindset shift is that this is temporary and you are building your next chapter. It's temporary and you are building your next chapter. And I'm so excited for you right now. And so what I'm going to do is yeah, no, so that's good. So like there we have it. You have the exit plan. I've given you the step-by-step play with everything, and I pray that you can go out there and make this happen for yourself, especially if this is on your heart to do. I am here as a guide, as a coach for you. I have one-on-one coaching sessions that are available that you can get on kikiramsey.com. You can just go, and these are called career clarity coaching sessions, or just one-on-one coaching sessions that we can chat with each other. You can also just pick up my book, Get Courageous Now, or Create Your Own Happiness, which will be out shortly. And I'm just always on YouTube and social media, giving you tools and strategies to be able to go about your life in terms of work and be happy. And then you can also listen to the Dr. Kiki Ramsey show, where I give you those tools and strategies and interview amazing guests about what it takes to be successful in your career. So I love y'all. I'm excited to be with you today and to be able to help you along this journey. And I will see you soon. All right, all right, all right.